In preparation for our study of quadratic equations, which will require quite a bit of graphing, we're going to get a function from Google called Gmath. And what we're going to do is get that Google graphing function and drop it into Google Docs. And the reason we're doing this is because we're going to use Google Docs as our principal means for doing our classwork, homework, and some of our quizzes. And since that's where we will be doing the majority of our work, I'd like for you to have a function that allows you to do graphing and has an equation editor that you can use in doing your homework, classwork, and various projects in this study and section on quadratic functions. So let's go to Google Classroom. And we'll go to Mr. Bufey's first period class. And I've put an assignment out there just this evening. It's a new assignment. It says, see attached Google document that will be used to install Gmath add-on in Google Docs. So what you're going to want to do when you see this is click on this area here where it says Gmath graphing tutorial document. And when you open that document up, you'll basically be inside a Google document excuse me, that I have pre-populated with some sections that have equations that need to be graphed. And what we're going to do, since you do not have the Gmath function, I'm going to show you how to install, how to go out to the Google Store, find Gmath, and install the Gmath function into your Google Documents. And then when you're in your Google Documents, you can go up to the add-on screen, the add-on menu, and select Gmath whenever you need to write an mathematical equation, or if you need to insert a graph of any type. And so let's go ahead and do that. I'll show you how to do this, and then you can try this yourself. If, for example, you miss class tomorrow, today is November 7th, and so tomorrow we're going to have a mock election at school, so we may or may not get an opportunity to do this tomorrow. If not, we'll do it Wednesday together, and for those who are not able to do it with us in class, you'll be able to look at this video and see how to install Gmath in your Google document. So here we go. So we're in Google Classroom. We're at the first assignment, and we're going to click down here in the area where it says Gmath graphing tutorial document. So what happens is you open a document that is actually in Google Docs, which is Google's word processing tool. And what we want to do here now is set our cursor here right under the first graphing section. And as you can see here, once we get the graphing tool, I've basically requested that you practice by inserting some graphs that represent the graphs which are outlined in each section here. So you can see as we move down the document, I've got quite a few different graphs that I'd like for you to insert and to attempt to demonstrate for yourself how you can use the Gmath function, the add-on, to actually give you these graphs. So let's go ahead and go to the add-on menu that's here at the top, and what we want to do is click on add-ons and then come down to where it says get add-ons. So you click on get add-ons and we come over here to the search section, and we want to type the word Gmath, G-M-A-T-H, G-M-A-T-H, and then just hit enter. And you see that this Gmath add-on comes up, and so to install it, all we have to do is click on Gmath. It shows us a little bit about how the add-on works, and I think we need to click here where it says free, and that's how it will get installed. So it's just asking you in this box here, it's just asking you, is it okay to modify your version of Google so that it can install Gmath in your Google document? And so you should click on the allow button. Then you get an indicator here that says Gmath. Easily create accessible math equations, graphs, or statistical displays by clicking on appropriate menu tab under Gmath. For those that find it easier to handwrite equations, the Create a Handwrite entry can easily integrate handwritten work. Okay, so I'll show you some of these features rather than going through the Learn More section. Gmath should be installed now, so when we go to the add-on menu and click, you can see the first add-on now is Gmath, and you can do several things now. You can create a math expression, create a graph, create a statistical display, or create a handwritten entry. So what we want to do first is create a graph. And before we create a graph, let's make sure that the cursor is in the proper place, because wherever your cursor is where the graph will be inserted. So let's put the cursor right under the word graph there. Let's go back up to add-ons, go to Gmath, let's go to create graph. And we can see here on the side there's already some pre-populated equations. Let's get rid of those. You just hit the clear button here, and we're going to type the graphs that we had specified in the document. So let's type 3x plus 5, and since we want two graphs of a line on the same chart, you can separate the graphs that you'd like to see with a comma. So next we put minus 2x minus 7. Okay, then we would hit the insert doc button, but before we do that, we'd like to check to see what we're using for x and y values. So right now it has a default minus, it by default will graph between -10 and +10 in steps of 1. Of course, you can change that from -10 to -100 or +100 in steps of, say, 25. And then your y min and y max are -10 and 10. Again, you can change those to whatever you think is appropriate for the chart that you're looking at. Now, before you actually send it to the chart, you could do a preview. And so let's just do that. If we hit preview, you can see if we go down, I'm selecting the scroll bar on the right here, so you can see that you can preview just to make sure that the chart that you selected is going to look approximately like what you're thinking about. I rarely use this though, because let's clear it, because you can insert the document. Let's go ahead and choose insert in doc. And you can see here that it inserted the graph right where my cursor was. And if we want to remove some of this reference material or references, just hit remove so you don't have that in your document. But you can easily just click on this area and hit delete, and then just reinsert it again. So there's really no reason to have to look at it in the area where you're doing a preview, because you can just as easily just click delete and retry. So if we changed one of these equations to, I don't know, let's say -20, hit insert document, and it changes. Since we put that -20 there, you can see we can't quite see all of the equation, and that's because we need to change our x's and y's to see those values. And so this is basically what I wanted to introduce you to. If you've done all of these steps in your Chromebooks, now you can move down to different sections of this document and try graphing these different functions. Eventually you'll come to some other functions which will require you to use some of the functions that are utilized here, but we'll discuss that in class. Okay? So hopefully you have Gmath as an add-on in your Google Documents, and we will now be able to write equations and insert graphs in our documents, and therefore we may not need to use as much paper in our class. I'll assign you homework and classwork right through the Google assignments, and we'll be able to communicate back and forth using Google Classroom versus paper, as we have done in the past. All right, thanks, and I'll talk to you later.